Welcome back to the What We're Watching podcast. I'm Megan.
And I'm Jenny, and today we're talking about Cowbells.
An iconic Disney Channel original movie, no?
Truly, but I feel like a lot of people don't know about it.
It is a little bit niche, but I think it might be one of those like sneaky ones that actually everybody loves and has watched. I don't know. I'm excited to find out though.
I put a story up today that was like, I've been listening to Aly and AJ all day, and I wanted to see if anyone would guess what that meant that we were watching this week, and a lot of people guessed Cowbells. So
Really?
Mm-hmm.
People know it.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay, good. Yay.
But we really wanted to cover it, so we didn't care if anyone knew about it. We were like, we're doing it this week. In this episode, we're talking about the real famous duo that Cowbells was inspired by.
Not Cowbells being based on a true story.
No, literally.
What?
We're also talking about Aly and AJ's rise to fame, whether they're as close in real life as they are on screen, AJ's first kiss to someone super famous, and a shocking role that Aly turned down that could have changed Disney history.
Juicy. I'm so excited.
I'm ready. I'm excited too.
Thank you guys for continuing to leave comments and reviews for the podcast. It really means a lot to us when you share our episodes with friends and let us know what you think.
I had to read this one that we got on our Shrek episode from Carly. Not the Mike/Michael Myers mix-up, laughing face emoji.
Just roasting me already. Incredible.
I'm going to be honest. Robert listened to the episode too, and during this part, he paused it and he was like, what?
Oh, no.
No, it was so funny. And also, I don't know why it's not like a more common mix-up because it's literally they have the same exact name. Anyway, Carly continues, you probably already know this by now, but the mask was a real Halloween costume mask of William Shatner. Production cut the eye holes bigger and used it in the movie.
Oh, interesting.
I love when you guys drop these fun facts on us.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I think you guys should run this podcast.
Okay, so the logline for Cowbells is, 2 spoiled sisters are made to work in the family business, a dairy factory, to learn responsibility. But when someone empties the company accounts, they must track down the culprit to save the business.
I did not remember that this is what this was about. Did you?
Nope. I remembered like the disaster scene of them on the conveyor belt line when the yogurt spills. That's it.
I just remembered their hairnets. Their hairnets
Yes,
and their like white lab coat looking uniforms.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep.
I actually thought there were more cows in this.
Me too. Me too. It was funny to watch back because I had no idea like the twist. I had no idea what the plot was. I couldn't remember any of it, so it was fun.
Yeah, I thought it was fun too. I still thought it was good. What did you think?
I did too. I liked it.
Well, if you guys forgot the movie just like we did, it's okay because we're going to recap it soon. And then you don't have to rewatch it unless you want to. But I do kind of recommend rewatching it because it was a good one.
Mm-hmm. It was cute.
Cowbells came out in 2006, and it premiered the same day as the first episode of Hannah Montana.
Whoa.
I was trying to figure out the timeline of that because what I read online was Hannah Montana premiered either before or after a rerun of High School Musical. So I don't know where Cowbells fits in because usually Disney Channel original movie premieres were at night later.
Right.
So maybe it was after Hannah Montana.
Wow. So they really just said we're going to have 2 back-to-back premieres to try to get everybody to watch this.
I think
guess.
so.
I guess that's smart. The rerun of High School Musical must have just been in the afternoon.
Maybe.
Or like at dinner time. I don't know.
I don't know.
I feel like I remember Disney Channel original movies coming out late, but there's no way they were actually that late because I was a kid.
Yeah, I want to say, okay, this is like a random poll. I could be so wrong, but something in my head is telling me that they were at 8 p.m. Eastern.
8/7 Central.
8/7
right?
Central, yes.
That was the same thing I was thinking, so I think that's right.
It was always 8/7 Central, which made no sense to me as a kid.
No.
I don't know. I don't know how I learned what time. I think I always was just like, the 7 doesn't matter to me
Right.
because I was East Coast.
Although I will say, moving to Denver as an adult, that was a weird adjustment. Like the entire time I lived there for however long, 4 or 5 years, I was Googling, what time does this show come on in Mountain Time? Because they don't ever advertise it anywhere.
No, they never do. You always have to do the math.
Yeah.
And also when you make meetings with people and stuff, I always just have to like adjust to whatever their time zone is because I'm like, they do not know what Mountain Time is. Cowbells was inspired by The Simple Life. Do you know that show?
No. Wait, but that sounds so familiar.
I think you do know it. It was the reality TV show that starred Paris Hilton and Nicole Richie.
Okay.
And they had to work jobs when they had never worked a day in their life before.
I feel like I've seen a million previews for that show. Probably. I don't think I ever watched it, but that's so funny.
Yeah, I think we were maybe a little too young for it, but I've heard of it before.
It's like the teen girl version of Dirty Jobs.
Yeah. And so I think it inspired a lot of movies because there's another movie I can't remember the name of right now that was inspired by The Simple Life. And then Cowbells also was. The premiere had 5 million viewers, which made it the 5th most watched DCOM by 2007.
Wow, that's a lot of people watching.
It was more popular than I feel like we think.
That is more people than watch like the big network live TV shows now. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Nowadays,
wow.
yeah. I doubt that it was the 5th for very long because I feel like High School Musical 2 then came out and like a couple other things, Camp Rock, and those probably crushed it.
You got the next wave.
Oh, yeah. I thought this was so funny. The film's original title was Dairy Girls, which little did they know.
Little did they know. Everybody would also love Dairy Girls, the show.
I love Dairy Girls, the show.
That would have probably been more fitting.
Than Cowbells? Yeah.
Yes, because like you, at the end of the movie, I was like, huh. There was like one cow in this movie for like 5 minutes. And they named it Cowbells. It's kind of weird.
For some reason, I thought that they were working on a farm.
I remembered it being like this factory setting, but for some reason I thought it was milk, not like yogurt. I feel like it's really yogurt focused.
It really is. It's funny that you say that though, because they did film in an actual working dairy factory. And Aly said that it smelled like cottage cheese all the time.
Oh my gosh.
While the movie was focused on yogurt, I think they were actually making cottage cheese in there.
Interesting.
I would hate that.
You don't like cottage cheese?
I don't think so. I mean, I've used it like when it's hidden in recipes, you know?
Yeah. I have not had it that many times, but I always thought it was fine, but I'm not going to like buy it. Go out of my way to buy it.
Exactly. Although it's had quite the resurgence.
It has. All the protein girlies are all over it. I will say I've gotten back into Greek yogurt. I used to be a big Greek yogurt girl. I am back. I get the Faye Greek yogurts with the honey attached, where you dump the honey in and mix it. Highly recommend.
That sounds amazing. I have another one for you. Make a pancake. Like I like to do the Kodiak cakes, the protein ones, and then add some peanut butter and a dollop of Greek yogurt on top. It's the best.
Okay, I will try that. I'll report back.
I'm in my Greek yogurt era too. Cottage cheese, no. Greek yogurt,
yes. Okay, should we talk about the cast?
Let's do it.
Starting with the iconic duo, Aly and AJ.
Okay, first we're going to talk about them as a unit because I feel like we have to, and then we can talk about them separately.
Perfect.
Aly and AJ are a sister music duo, and they were really popular on Disney. Their dad owned a contracting company, and their mom was a musician in a Christian rock band.
Interesting.
Yeah, they didn't come from a family that worked in the industry. They were normal girls.
Cool.
I don't really know how they got discovered, but they signed a recording contract in 2004 when Aly was 15 and AJ was 13.
Wow, that's very young.
I know. Were you a big fan of Aly and AJ when you were younger?
I loved Aly and AJ. I had their CD. I used to play it all the time in my little pink CD player. Loved them.
Which CD do you remember? Or do you remember what songs were on there?
I don't know. Potential breakup song.
Okay, so you had Insomniatic, I think. was their
Maybe.
third
Is it the
album.
white one? I think it was the white one.
I don't know. I never had their albums, but I loved them. And I feel like they always played their songs on Disney Channel.
They must have, because I was thinking about that, like what I love them from, because I like their music, and then I know them from this movie, but it's not like they were the equivalent of like a Miley Cyrus doing Hannah Montana or Selena Gomez doing Wizards of Waverly Place. They didn't have a show.
Right.
But I guess that's why they must have played their music videos a lot on Disney or something.
And then I feel like Aly was in a lot of separate Disney projects, and then they used Aly and AJ's songs in almost every single one of those projects.
Yeah.
So maybe that was why. And I'm sure they played the music videos like during commercial break or whatever. In 2005, Aly and AJ released their first album, Into the Rush.
Oh,
So good, right?
Into the Rush.
Rush has been stuck in my head all day. And it debuted in the top 36 albums in the US. Their very first album.
Huge. Do you remember if they had ties to Disney at this time?
They were working with Hollywood Records. That's not Disney, right? That's like a normal, I don't know if that's like a normal label or not.
Hollywood Records is owned by the Disney Music Group.
Okay, well then that explains it. Yep, so they did have ties with Disney.
Okay.
Which makes sense why they were on Radio Disney all the time. I loved Radio Disney.
Me too. I forgot about that. Wow.
The album Into the Rush was certified gold in 2006, 1 year later. That's a big deal.
That is a really big deal.
I think gold is the equivalent of 500,000 units sold. So like 500,000 CDs, records, etc.
A lot.
Yeah. Here are some songs that you might know from that album. Do You Believe in Magic, which is a cover that was used in the DCOM Now You See It that starred Aly. No One, which is featured in the Ice Princess soundtrack.
You guys have probably heard that more recently. I feel like a lot of people and celebrities have used that song when paying tribute to Michelle Trachtenberg on social media. So you would definitely recognize it.
On the Ride is the song that was featured in Cowbells. That's a good one too. They also had Never Far Behind on this album, which is a Christian single popular on Christian radio.
I don't know if I knew that one.
Yeah, I didn't. And then we have Rush, of course, which we just talked about. That was their first song to chart on the Billboard Hot 100, and it has 14 million plays on Spotify, if you're curious.
I believe it.
Aly and AJ opened for the Cheetah Girls in 2005, and they also did 2 weeks of Miley Cyrus's Best of Both Worlds tour in 2007.
Wow.
And they had their own tour, and they still tour to this day.
Sometimes I see little clips of them performing now together, and it makes my heart so happy.
We should go.
I would love that.
Oh, we would be so hype. Wait, I want to go see Aly and AJ, and I want to see Jesse McCartney.
Yes.
And is there anybody else I'm missing? Probably a lot.
I would still love to see Miley Cyrus.
Oh, yeah. But I feel like she's like transcended Disney.
Totally. Yeah, that's fair.
I don't even think about Hannah Montana when I think of her now.
Yep.
Selena too. I don't really think of Disney. So we talked about Potential Breakup Song, which is their most iconic song, and that was from their third album. Time magazine named it one of the top 10 songs of 2007.
Wow.
That's saying a lot from a Disney duo.
I think it says a lot that you and I didn't even know that they were signed to Disney. We're just like, oh, Disney used their songs a lot, because it felt like because they weren't the face of a show, like a lot of the other artists that come out of Disney, they didn't have the same attachment of their image, interestingly, but they still got the benefit of the exposure through Disney.
Yeah, although it's interesting because if you hear them talk about it now, they do say that they definitely didn't get opportunities with acting because of their music career and their Disney career. And they're not upset about it or anything, but they're just like, yeah, that's just the facts.
Interesting.
Potential Breakup Song, just for comparison, we said that other song, Rush, had 14 million plays on Spotify. Potential Breakup Song has 186 million plays on Spotify.
That's so many.
And those are all like modern plays. In my mind, when I'm looking at Spotify, I'm thinking, okay, that's from the past, what?
Decade?
Yeah, 10 years. Did you know that they released an explicit version of the song in 2020?
No, actually, no. Oh, I'm going to go find it immediately.
You have to listen to it. It's so good. I think it's like their second most popular song on Spotify.
Cool.
There was a time when Aly and AJ changed their band name to 78 Violet. I didn't remember this.
I do not remember that at all.
And they actually recorded the theme song of Hellcats, which starred Aly, under the name 78 Violet. I think they were just like wanting something different.
Mm-hmm.
I think to this day, they still say they wish they had named their band something that wasn't just their names.
Interesting.
So this was them trying that. And I want to say they tried it for like, I don't know, 6 years or something.
Wow. I love that it's Aly and AJ. I feel like that's why I know their names.
I know. I wouldn't know their names otherwise.
Yeah.
They changed their name back to Aly and AJ in 2015.
Okay.
I didn't know this about Aly and AJ, but I thought it was really interesting. They've used their platform for activism, including supporting LGBTQ plus rights, voter registration, Black Lives Matter, Planned Parenthood, and they've supported certain candidates in the Democratic Party.
Cool.
They're very involved.
Love it.
They also do a lot of advocacy for gun reform ever since their tour bus was caught in the crossfire of a shooting in Sacramento in 2022.
Wow.
They heard gunshots and they all hit the floors of their bus for cover, and all of them were safe on the Aly and AJ crew, but there were bullet holes in their trailer.
Wow. That's really scary.
Yeah, and their song Sirens is about this experience.
Wow.
That's really heavy, but on a lighter note, Cowbells was their first movie together.
Aww.
They were also in My Super Sweet 16, the movie, which I never saw. I don't know that one. And in 2015, they were in an indie film together called Weep Away for Now.
I've never seen either of the other two.
No.
I'm surprised that they weren't just in everything together, because this movie is so cute with the two of them. And the fact that it premiered right after Hannah Montana and so many people have seen it, I'm kind of surprised that they didn't become this acting duo as well.
I feel like they could have really hit it off on Disney for a few more years.
Definitely.
Of doing things together.
Mm-hmm.
So remember Weep Away for Now, because I'm going to mention it in a little bit when I get to Aly. But anyway, back to Cowbells. In the DVD special features for Cowbells, they talk about how close they are in real life and how they always say they're twins born 2 years apart.
Oh.
Which they do act like twins.
They do. That's so cute.
Yeah.
AJ is younger, right?
Yeah, she's 2 years younger.
Okay. How cute is that?
I know. And I think in a different interview I was watching, AJ was saying that Aly used to be really shy before she started acting. So her older sister was really shy, and she would be the one to like look at Aly and know what she wanted and then verbalize that to everyone.
Oh.
She'd be like, she wants a sandwich.
Oh, I used to make my sister that's 2 years younger than me do that for me.
Really?
Like she used to order for me at restaurants, and like we would go to the mall food court and she would have to order my food because I was too shy.
I relate to that so much.
Painfully shy children, you know?
It's funny that Aly then became the one who acted.
Yeah.
Well, and then you got into acting too, so like
That's true.
I don't know, it's like a different
Me
part of you
and
turns
Aly.
on. You're the same. You're the same.
Totally the same.
Megan and Hannah. The other cast members always brought up how much energy the two of them had on set when I was watching the interviews from this movie, and I thought that was cute. Also, the two girls were both super excited to keep a lot of the clothes that they wore on set.
Fun.
There's an interview of them with the hairnets on, and they're just like, we love the outfits we get to wear in this, and we get to take some of them home.
That's really funny. Like somebody at Disney was like, somebody tell the PA to tell them they cannot take that home.
And of course, like the teen girls are thinking, oh my gosh, so great. I get all of this free stuff.
Well, and if it was their first movie together, I feel like being like, ooh, the wardrobe department picked these fancy clothes out for me and I get to keep them. That'd be cool. Okay, now let's deep dive Aly Mishaka, who plays Taylor Callum.
You know her from Phil of the Future, iZombie, Now You See It, Easy A, Hellcats, and Band Slam, and a few other things.
Not me forgetting we just talked about her in Easy A.
I know. I'm excited that we get to deep dive on her, though. In 2004, when she was 15, she was cast as Keely in Phil of the Future. Did you ever watch that?
I did watch it. I actually completely forgot that she was in Phil of the Future. That was like a secondary show for me.
Okay, like your backup show when your other stuff wasn't on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
How about you?
I loved it. I remember being really into Phil of the Future,
Okay.
but it was short-lived. I think the show was only 2 seasons, so
Those 2-season shows sometimes really leave an imprint.
I know.
Thinking, like, wasn't Lizzie McGuire 2 seasons?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was. They just did the replays all the time, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So Keeley was her first role, and during that time, she was also in the DCOM Now You See It, and she was filming Cowbells.
Booked and busy.
Mm-hmm. A fun fact is that Aly got her driving permit for Cowbells.
Aw. Just like in the movie.
I know, she was really excited about it. Okay, this is the crazy fun fact. She was offered the role of Hannah Montana when she was almost 17. Offered
Whoa.
the role.
Whoa.
And she turned it down.
Whoa. Why? Did she say?
Yeah, she said that it would be kind of confusing if she had her own music career, Aly and AJ, and then she's Aly, and then she's also Hannah Montana. She just felt like it didn't make sense. And also, she felt like she and AJ were a package deal. So I think she could envision them having like their own show or something, but she felt like this would very much be her show only.
Right. Oh, what a good sister.
I know. And so she was like, well, what about AJ? And they were like, oh, AJ can play Lily, the best friend.
That would have been wild.
If they're sisters in real life. Yeah, it doesn't really connect to me.
No, I don't think it would have been the same at all. But I think she's right about the having Aly and AJ and being Hannah Montana and being an actor. I think that would have been a lot for her image at that time. And I think Aly and AJ probably would have taken a backseat and not become what it did.
And I feel like she was older than Miley was when she got Hannah Montana.
That was the first thing I was going to say is she seems older. That would have changed the show.
Yeah, it definitely would have.
I would like to see that version. I'd love to see an episode of it.
I know. I don't think they ever even got to record it, but I just like can't even picture it, honestly. I think it's interesting. Another thing that Aly said that was pretty interesting is at that point she had done 2 seasons of Phil of the Future, 2 different DCOMs, and she was like, I think I've done everything I want to do at Disney. And it makes sense too, because she was like almost 18 and she was probably just ready to move on, focus on her music career with AJ.
Totally.
I cannot imagine what our lives would be like, though, if Aly was Hannah Montana.
No, that would have been weird. Like, what would Miley have done? She would still be famous now, but I'm sure, but I wonder how that would have happened.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Fascinating.
Okay, remember how I said to remember that indie movie Weep Away for Now?
Yes.
So Aly began dating an independent film producer named Steven Ringer after she worked on the movie Sequoia with him.
Okay.
Actually, the tea is that she was dating somebody else, but it was kind of one of those relationships where like she knew she needed to get out of it. And then she did the movie Sequoia with this guy and she had an instant connection with him. But then I think they didn't start dating until like a year later or something like that. Anyway, they got married in 2015.
Oh.
And that was the year that she and AJ were in his movie, Weep Away for Now.
Cute.
And I think they produced it with him.
Cute. Also, when they returned to using Aly and AJ as their name.
I wonder if that's connected. I wonder if they were like, oh, let's go back to Aly and AJ because now we're in this movie together. I don't know.
Aww.
And then Steven and Aly just had a son in 2024.
Aww. Yay.
They seem really happy.
Very cute. Okay, now let's talk about AJ Mishaka, who plays Courtney Callum.
I didn't know this, but she's from The Lovely Bones, Secretariat, Super 8, Grace Unplugged, The Goldbergs, and she's done a lot of voice acting.
She's done a lot of acting. Honestly, I had kind of written her off as not the actor. Like I
Me
thought
too.
Aly was the actor, and maybe by choice, AJ was like, this isn't really for me because she was great in this movie. But no, she's done a bunch of stuff. Wow.
I know. I think they've just been like smaller roles maybe, and so that's why we didn't know.
Cool.
Cowbells was her debut acting role.
Crushed it.
It shocked me in the intro credits that she's listed as Amanda Mashaka.
Threw me for a loop.
I didn't know her name was Amanda.
No, me either.
AJ stands for Amanda Joy.
Cute. Amanda Joy.
Yeah, I love that. AJ's first kiss was Joe Jonas, and they dated for about a year, which I didn't know.
I was so plugged into the Jonas Brothers, I thought, at this time, but I don't remember that at all.
They were so young at the time. Like, she must have been, I don't know, 16.
Mm-hmm.
But a year is a long time for a 16-year-old. And I recently saw they took a picture together, Aly, AJ, and Joe. So there's no beef or anything.
Oh, you reposted this onto our Instagram, didn't you?
Of course I did.
Oh, I saw it and it made me so happy.
Yeah. They met on tour when the Jonas Brothers opened for Aly and AJ.
When the Jonas Brothers opened for Aly and AJ?
Opened. That's how popular Aly and AJ were.
What a good match. The Jonas Brothers and Aly and AJ. That is what I want to go see.
Yes,
yeah.
Jonas Brothers. That's who I want to see.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, add them.
I will say, one of my best friends, Claire, and I got floor tickets the day of to see the Jonas Brothers pre-pandemic. We were just at work one day and we were like, we should just look. And the tickets were like $90 the day of. And we drove after work and went. And I had like 3 glasses of wine and it was awesome. It was a bunch of people actually from our work went, a bunch of our friends. So it was really, really fun. It makes me want to go to every one of their concerts if they come in town because it was so fun.
We should go and we should bring Claire.
I would love that.
That would be so fun.
Next time they're in Atlanta, you can come.
I love that you did that.
Yeah, it was really fun.
That's a great memory. That's a good experience. Oh, and Aly and AJ's song Flattery is about Joe, which I've never heard that song, so I'll have to listen to it.
Mm-hmm.
I have to say that a lot of these fun facts came from the Call Her Daddy episode that Aly and AJ did pretty recently. It was like in January of 2025. So I highly recommend, if you're interested in this Aly and AJ stuff, go listen to Call Her Daddy.
Cool, I will.
But something funny that they were talking about when they were talking about AJ's first kiss with Joe is that I guess everyone was also trying to set Aly up with Kevin.
Oh.
And she was not feeling it. And then they were like, okay, well, if not Kevin, then what about the guitarist or something, like the bassist? And she was like,
funny.
No, I'm good.
And she was like, no Jonas Brothers for me, thank you. That is really funny.
I didn't know this, but AJ was in The Masked Singer in 2024 and she got 3rd place.
Wow.
I know. And she's been in a relationship with the actor Josh Pence since 2017.
Cute, long time.
I know.
Okay, last but not least, let's cover Michael Trevino, who plays Jackson Mead.
He's from Charmed, and most importantly to me, he's Tyler Lockwood in The Vampire Diaries.
Most importantly.
Yes. I didn't even remember that he was in this movie. Did you?
No, when he came on my screen, I was like, oh my gosh, it's Tyler.
He will always be Tyler to me.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Cowbells was his first movie, and he was about 21 at the time. So like a little bit older than Aly.
Mm-hmm.
And I really couldn't find that much about him online, but also I don't feel like this is his movie, so I didn't spend that much time looking. But what I did find is that he's engaged to the model Brej Heinen, and she's very popular, so I'm sure a lot of you know her.
Mm-hmm. This did make me happy, though. I do think he's still good friends with Candace King.
Oh, good.
Who also just got engaged. She plays Caroline in The Vampire Diaries. I think they still hang out sometimes.
Wait, she just got engaged. I thought her...
No, this has been a whole thing.
Oh, no.
She was married to Joe King from The Fray.
Was. Oh, no.
Was. They got divorced, I think, post-pandemic. I think it was one of those, like in the fallout of the pandemic, they broke up.
Oh.
Right after she had her second baby, Josephine, I think.
And she kept the name King, or we don't know?
I think she kept the name King. I'm pretty sure I kept seeing King on social media, at least. And she lives in Nashville now. And I saw, like, after their divorce, she was, like, traveling with all of her Vampire Diaries friends a lot. Like, I think they went to Europe a few times. And, like, it seemed like she really reconnected with that group of friends, which was fun. And now she's dating somebody else. I think he's another actor. And they just got engaged.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Little side quest for all of you. Okay, it's time.
Should we get into the movie?
Let's do it. So the movie opens and Taylor, that's Aly, is taking her driver's test in her Jaguar. And she pulls over during the driving test to answer a call from her sister, Courtney, that's AJ. Courtney tells her that she found the perfect dress for her cotillion, which is like a coming of age, coming out party. She makes her driving instructor finish talking to Courtney because she can't be on the phone. So she throws the phone at him and makes him talk to her. And at the end of the test, the driving instructor tells Taylor that she has a problem with focus. But he ends up passing her anyway so that he won't have to be in the car with her again. And then meanwhile, we see Courtney buying the dress, and she doesn't hesitate when she finds out that it costs $1,000.
Wow.
Woof.
Then we meet Taylor and Courtney's father, Reed, who's played by Jack Coleman, who's Bill Forbes from TVD, The Vampire Diaries. I recognized him immediately. Also, speaking of Candace King, wasn't he her dad?
True, yes. I think he's also in Heroes.
Yes,
I don't
you're
know if you
right.
ever watched Heroes, yeah.
You're right. Reed's business partner, Bob, gives him a ticket to Ecuador to finally capture a photo of the last butterfly he needs for his collection, which is a very niche hobby. Bob says that he'll handle things at work and that Reed deserves this vacation.
After Taylor's driving test, she drives Courtney home with balloons on her car and a wrap on the car that says, "Congratulate me, I passed." Which
Perfect.
This killed me. Their dad is outside and gives Taylor her mom's old car that he got fixed up. And this is where we learn that their mom has passed away. And the car is this red convertible, classic car looking. It's gorgeous. But since the car is a stick shift, Reed is going to make Taylor practice on something less precious first.
We cut to a farm where we meet Jackson Mead, played by Michael Trevino, a teenage boy who's holding a pig. He's holding a baby pig. It's so cute.
Yeah.
His dad tells him he's going to be teaching Taylor Callum how to drive stick. Reed Callum is their #1 milk buyer, and this is the first favor that he's ever asked them for. Jackson is upset and says that Taylor is spoiled, stuck up, and condescending. Then we hear, "Wow, condescending. Big word for a farm boy." And that's Taylor. She's there for her first lesson.
Jackson hands Taylor the pig, and she immediately squeals and puts it down. And she says, "Excuse me, do I look like a pig-holding kind of girl?" Taylor struggles learning how to drive Jackson's truck, and she says it's hopeless. And he says that that's the problem with people like her, and asks if she's ever had to work at something ever in her life. She calls him mean, and then he tells her to try again. And this time she gets it, so it pays off.
It does. This was the first scene that they filmed in the movie, and Aly was nervous because she had only just gotten her permit, like we talked about. She also was only taught to drive stick minutes before filming this scene.
So she was really doing it. She was really learning.
Yes, exactly.
Wow.
Michael Trevino said it was funny because he was actually teaching her in this scene, not her character.
That is funny.
Yeah.
The two of them drive around the farm, but then Jackson tells her to stop the truck so he can check on Martha, a pregnant cow who's due any day. Taylor forgets to put on the parking brake when she got out of the truck, and we see it roll into a lake and sink straight to the bottom. Taylor feels awful about this, obviously, and says that her dad will pay to get it hauled out of the lake and fixed.
Cut to her dad spitting his drink out at dinner when he hears how much it'll cost. He tells the girls that their carelessness and spending has to stop.
Then their dad packs for his trip to Ecuador, and he makes sure that Courtney is okay with him missing her big cotillion party. And she says she is, and she says she'll stick to the budget that he set of $25,000.
A wedding.
Crazy.
A
wedding.
Literal wedding.
I know.
Oh my gosh. For a, 15-year-old, 16-year-old? When is your coming out? 15?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Courtney and her dad pinky promise that she won't go over budget.
Wow. But I also expected him, because she says something like, "Yeah, I'll stick to the budget of $25,000. And there's a minute where I'm like, oh, he's going to say, "Oh, heck no, you're not spending $25,000. But he smiles at her and pinky promises her.
I thought the same thing. I thought he was going to be like, whoa, 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 that's crazy. No,
It just goes to show how rich they really are.
Definitely.
While Taylor and Courtney are making food on the stove, Courtney gets a call from her best friend Heather, played by Christian Serratos, who's from Ned's Declassified, The Walking Dead, and Twilight. And Heather is calling to talk about a sale. The girls leave the house to go shop, but they leave a towel on the stove, which is still on from them cooking, and they start a house fire.
Very scary.
Really?
It turns out that the house is okay, but the kitchen gets destroyed, and Reed says they can't go on like this and decides they need a summer job. So he puts both girls to work at the dairy to teach them responsibility. He also cancels their credit cards and stops giving them allowance so that they can learn what it means to earn what they want. They're cut off.
Then Reed wakes the girls up in the morning with a trumpet.
I loved this.
He's really enjoying himself here.
Uh-huh.
He sends them off to work before the sun is up, and he also has a plane to catch because he's going to Ecuador, and he won't have any cell service on this trip, which is important.
Just imagine, like, he's sending his kids to work for the very first time at his business, and then he's like, and you can't call me, bye.
And he, like, knows them. They just set his house on fire. Like, what could go wrong?
Wild choice. The girls report to Bob, their dad's business partner, for work, and he introduces them to Fran Walker, played by Sheila McCarthy, who is the supervisor they'll be reporting to for their work. And the girls are horrified to have to change into these white uniforms and hairnets that the other production workers wear. And Courtney actually snaps a picture of Taylor on her bedazzled pink flip phone and starts sending it to Jackson, the farm boy. And Taylor fights her for it, and the phone flies into a full yogurt tub.
They almost have to stop production and scrap the whole run because they don't know which tub the phone landed in. But then Taylor calls Courtney's phone and finds it. Then, to make up for the 4 minutes of lost production time, Taylor does math to figure out how long they'll need to speed up the machines until they're back on schedule.
Impressive.
Really. And we learn that Taylor is a math whiz, and we mainly see her use her skills to calculate discounts.
It was giving like the origination of girl math.
Literally. And Courtney is apparently good with computers, which is a skill she uses to hunt down sales. But we don't actually see her use that skill, except for in a deleted scene that I'll tell you about later.
Ooh.
Also, I just want to say, Megan's ready.
I'm ready.
If she sees in the outline that there's a mysterious thing that just says note or fun fact, she knows what's coming. Help us keep this show running smoother than a dairy production line, and rate this podcast 5 stars wherever you listen.
Perfect. Perfection. Perfection.
Thank you.
Okay, back to the movie. So at lunch, all of the employees glare at the girls because, they're like the rich boss's daughters, who don't actually, I'm sure they feel like the girls don't know how to do actual hard work, which fair enough. And Courtney's best friend, Heather's dad, works at the factory. So this is her friend that they went shopping with when the house burned down. And Heather's dad is nice to them and asks where their lunch is. And they say that they assumed there was going to be a caterer. And Heather's dad laughs at this, obviously. And so the girls have to get their lunch from a vending machine. And they sit with Heather's dad, and Courtney talks about how she still doesn't have a date for her party. But just as she says that, a cute boy walks by. And Heather's dad tells her that the boy's name is Philippe, played by Chris Gallagher from Twitches 2. And he's an exchange student from France who has a summer internship at the factory.
And by the way, he is not French.
Really? I guess maybe that's obvious. Maybe his accent is not good if you actually know French accents.
I've heard that his accent is really bad, but like I didn't notice, so. And in the deleted scenes, he's like, a French accent is actually very easy. And then he explains how he does it. So you'll have to tell us if his French accent is believable or not. Then the workers start playing instruments, singing and dancing for something that they call Monday Jams. And apparently it was the girls' dad's idea to get the workers to like have this moment of bonding every week. The girls ask if they can join because they say they're pretty good singers. But one of the workers says it's only for real working folk, and they're better off joining the Pretenders. Everyone laughs at the girls. Also, I'm like, why didn't they use an opportunity to have Aly and AJ sing at the end of the movie?
That would have been really cool.
Because they could have joined in and
Definitely.
sang. Doesn't happen. I
will say there are a lot of shots taken at Aly and AJ that are warranted, and there are a lot that feel kind of like misogynistic.
Oh, totally.
Like, you stupid little girls. You don't know what you're talking about. When it's like Taylor is very smart and can do math really well.
Yeah, everyone is just really mean. All of these adults are so mean to these little girls.
Yeah. But I do understand like the resentment towards like, well, I was going to say I would understand the resentment towards like a rich CEO, but they all seem to love him. Like they seem to love their dad. So I don't know why there's this like difference in their disposition towards the dad and towards the kids, but whatever.
We need to deep dive on this a little bit later because I have so many questions about this.
We will. We'll talk about it. So after lunch, the girls decide they're going to work faster, so everyone takes them more seriously. They start walking faster, but they're both wearing high heels and they trip. And then they splash blueberry juice all over themselves, and everyone sees, and they are not happy.
Sad. As the girls leave work, they run into Jackson Mead, who's there making a delivery. They tell him they work there now. And he says, I guess miracles never cease. He's so sassy.
Mm.
Taylor asks if she can come by to drop off the check for his truck. He says he can swing by her place, but then she says she really wants to see how Martha the cow is doing. He's surprised by this, and you can tell it means something to him. And then they decide that she'll come over tonight.
Jackson spends extra time that night picking out what shirt he's going to wear, and he waits at his kitchen table with flowers for Taylor.
So cute.
But then Taylor is so tired from work that she falls asleep and stands him up. And so Jackson throws the flowers away.
Ugh, heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Although I saw this Letterboxd comment that made me laugh. Somebody reviewed this movie and they were like, imagine a girl saying she's going to drop by a check for you and you're waiting with flowers at the door.
Yeah, that's true. She's like going to swing by and you're like, oh, hi, in a button-down shirt with flowers.
Thank you for my check. Meanwhile, Courtney and Heather go carry out their plan to invite Richie, the boy whose family is hosting the foreign exchange student Philippe, to Courtney's party so that he'll bring Philippe to the party. Their plan works, and Philippe says that he'll come.
The next morning, Taylor wakes up in a panic, realizing she stood Jackson up. And Courtney says, the really bad news is we have to go to work again. It's only been one day. That's me saying that, but wow.
That day at work, the employees are all upset because their paychecks bounced. They all think the girls know something and start asking them where their money is. Melvin, the guy in charge of giving everyone their paychecks, says that the company is broke. Bob, their dad's business partner, says that he got off the phone with the bank and their father took more than luggage on his trip. The company account is completely wiped out. Everyone who knows Reed well defends him and says this isn't something he's capable of. Bob says he'll get on a plane and track Reed down. Fran convinces everyone to keep working so they can meet their delivery deadlines.
At the end of the day, the girls want to catch Bob before he leaves to pass along a message to their dad that they believe in him. But when they go to his office, he's already left. And in the trash, they find a broken picture frame with a photo of Bob and their dad in it. Courtney wonders if it's broken because Bob thinks their dad is a crook, and that makes Taylor realize that Bob might be the actual crook, and that's why he gave him the trip to Ecuador.
The girls go to Fran's house to tell her their suspicions. Fran says that Bob was furious when their dad wouldn't sell the dairy because he didn't want his employees to lose their jobs. Fran and her husband have the girls stay for dinner and teach them how to make pizzas. The girls are touched when they learn that they're making extra pizza for the elderly neighbor next door.
Then we see Courtney planning her cotillion party with some other girls, but she's starting to get uncomfortable with the amount of money they're spending on stuff like florals and an ice sculpture that will melt. And the other girls only care about topping the older girls' party from last year and want to ask their dads for even more money for their party.
Courtney brings the budget to Taylor to see if she can figure out how they can spend less since she's so good at math. Courtney asks why everything is so expensive all of a sudden, and Taylor says she has a feeling it's always been this way, and now they're being forced to pay attention. Courtney says, whoever came up with that ignorance is bliss thing was really onto something. Taylor says she thinks it's up to them to fix this mess at the dairy, and she thinks that they should use Courtney's party allowance to cover the dairy workers' salaries. Courtney says this isn't her emergency, and says that Taylor already had her cotillion, so it's easy for her to act noble.
Then Taylor remembers that she still hasn't given Jackson the money for the truck and calls his house, but Jackson won't take her call.
The next day, there's an employee meeting where everyone says they can't work without pay because a lot of them are working paycheck to paycheck. Courtney isn't listening and she's filing her nails, but Taylor feels terrible about what's happening. She asks Courtney to go fetch her cell phone from the car, and while Courtney's gone, Taylor tells everyone that she'll help with their paychecks if they continue working until her dad gets back. She asks them to give her until the end of the day to find the money. The employees don't believe her and say she and her sister are a pair of spoiled brats, and she says that she's trying to change. Here's where my beef is. Okay, my questions, I should say. The workers are living paycheck to paycheck, but we're meant to believe that Taylor and Courtney's dad is like so nice, cares about his employees so much, is giving them all these benefits, like they can play music during lunchtime, ? But he's
This is a good
rich.
point.
He is
Mhm.
so freaking rich that $25,000 for a party is nothing to him.
This is a good point that actually never crossed my mind. It's true. It's true. It makes him like, it's a bad look.
It's a bad look, yeah. I just think that the writers didn't think it through.
Yeah. It would make a lot more sense. Like, I love that they made their dad this wholesome dad character, and I feel like they needed to in order for him to come back and be the good guy. But, or like for the girls to be like, no, it wasn't our dad, like, and for them to want to stand up for something right because they think that's what their dad would do. But everything else is like framed in a way that would make more sense if everyone resented the dad for being
Yeah,
rich. Because it's
exactly.
like they all hate the girls for being rich. So why wouldn't they hate the dad for being rich and for like creating this dynamic for them? Yeah.
Or like maybe make it so that they all get a really good salary and they're not living paycheck to paycheck, but they're still, I mean, anybody who's out of a job would struggle.
I would be curious if one of those ways was the way that it was originally written, but then they wanted more tension or something. They like wanted to punch up the stakes, and so they made this.
So they edited it without thinking of the logic. I hate it.
Hate.
Anyway,
Good catch.
it's a Disney Channel original movie, so we cannot be too harsh on it.
It's true. The expectations cannot be super high.
There are no leprechauns in this one.
Yeah, that is a plus. So back to the movie. We see Courtney going to get Taylor's phone, and she runs into Philippe and asks him if he'll dance with her at her party in their like big spotlight dance that everyone watches, and he agrees.
Then Taylor goes to the bank and pulls out $20,000 for everyone's paychecks. At work, Fran announces that due to the generosity of Taylor and Courtney, the current payroll has been guaranteed. Courtney immediately realizes that Taylor took the money for her party.
When they get home, Taylor says that there was no other choice and people were going to lose their houses. Taylor says it's their duty, and Courtney says her only duty is to show up at work and stay out of trouble like their dad wanted. Courtney also says that now she won't get to be part of the party at all, and everyone will still remember that Taylor's was the best, just like she thinks Taylor wanted. And then she storms out of Taylor's room and calls her a horrible traitor.
Taylor delivers the check to Jackson at his house and apologizes for falling asleep and for standing him up. He forgives her, and then he sees her face and that something's not right, and he asks her what's wrong. She tells him everything and says the only person she can unload on is a guy who thinks she's a spoiled brat. He says, a condescending spoiled brat. Then Jackson's dad tells them that Martha the cow is having her baby, and Jackson and Taylor run to her holding hands.
Them running while holding hands, I died.
Cute.
I thought it was so cute.
She's like, I'm sorry I fell asleep and stood you up. And he's like, okay.
You want to hold hands? Martha's birth isn't moving along, and Taylor says she thinks it's because Martha is distracted by the bull in the stable and that she wants some privacy. Jackson doesn't believe her, so she shoos the bull away herself. And then Martha starts pushing, so Taylor was right.
Feminism.
Feminism, yes. She knows what the mom wants. And Martha does give birth to a healthy calf. And then Taylor, is so excited in the moment that she runs over to the calf right after it comes out and is hugging it and kissing it on the head.
Fresh out the womb.
This was wild.
It was wet. It was wet from the womb, and she was kissing its head.
Yeah.
I could not.
Yeah, it was weird. I also noticed.
It was something I never noticed as a kid, but now I'm like, ugh,
Yeah.
no.
Agreed.
After Martha gives birth, Jackson and Taylor walk in a field and they hold hands, and he says he's so impressed with how she handled Martha. She says maybe he shouldn't judge a person before he gets to know them, and he says, sorta like you did with me. She says, sorta how we both did. And so they both have this realization that they judged each other too quick. And then they stop and kiss. The crazy thing about this scene is they only had 7 minutes to film it because it needed to be filmed during sunset.
Wow.
So they kept running it back, and they only had a few takes, I think.
It's a really cute scene, and it's beautifully done because it is during sunset, and she's wearing I think some of his extra clothes, this big baggy t-shirt. It's very cute.
It is so cute. I actually really loved that scene. I think it was one of my favorites.
Me too. The next morning, Taylor finds a note in the bathroom from Courtney that says their housekeeper drove her to work and to forget she exists. At work, Taylor tries to talk to Courtney, and while they're fighting, Courtney accidentally enters July 10th, which is the day of her party, as the expiration date for the yogurts. This is important, comes back later.
Then a bunch of milk is spoiled because I guess it was Bob's job to ensure that it wasn't. And now the company is in trouble and everyone will lose their jobs. Taylor decides to ask Jackson's dad if they can get milk on credit to get them through this. Courtney officially gets kicked out of the cotillion party, and she's being a brat about it. Taylor says, for once in your life, it might be nice to spend 2 seconds thinking about somebody other than yourself. And then Courtney quits her job.
She says, or not. Then Taylor talks to Jackson about her idea, but he says that he can't ask his dad because if they take on $1 more of debt, it'll crush their farm.
Courtney goes to her best friend Heather's house and sees her trying on a dress that her mom made her. She tells Courtney she can no longer afford the dress she originally found at the store for the party because her dad works at the dairy factory. Heather says it's so humiliating that she has to have a homemade dress, and Courtney says it's not a competition. Heather asks her if she's ever known how hard it is for her and if she ever thinks about anyone but herself. Courtney says, oh no, that's exactly what Taylor said. Am I really that bad? Heather nicely says, yeah, but why wouldn't you be that bad? Because basically her whole life has been a fairy tale, and how would she know anything about reality? But underneath, Heather says she's a really good person. Courtney says, thanks, but I think it's time for me to do better than that.
Good for Courtney. Very self-aware for a teenager in this moment to not just get super defensive.
Yeah, to not just yell at her friend.
So Courtney tells the housekeeper, Corinne, how much she misses her mom and how she'd always know what to say when she and Taylor were fighting. Corinne said her mom knew more than anyone that her life was a happy accident and that she was compassionate.
Taylor sells her mom's Mustang for money to give Jackson as a down payment for the milk, which made me so sad that she did that.
Me too.
When Taylor gets home, Courtney is talking to her again and heard that she sold her car. She asks what she can do to help, and Taylor says it's too late and she should just focus on her party. Courtney realizes that the other girls throwing the party don't care about her, and she wants to use her remaining $5,000 to help with the milk. Then they return her $1,000 party dress to get the rest of the money.
Philippe calls Courtney and invites her to a country club dinner with his host family, and she says that she's dropped out of the cotillion so they don't have to be dates anymore, but he says that they'll just have to celebrate her tonight at the country club instead.
Sweet.
Very sweet. At dinner, Philippe invites her to dance, but during their dance, the mean girls that kicked her out of the cotillion confront her and rub it in her face. But Courtney isn't fazed by this, and she continues dancing with Philippe. Later, Philippe asks her why she even wanted to be part of the cotillion in the first place, and Courtney realizes that she has just been trying to be her sister, and now she needs to be herself.
Nice. Jackson shows up at Taylor's house, and they watch a movie together. Taylor says she wishes her father would come home. Jackson says, well, not right this second, because then I wouldn't have the nerve to do this. And then he kisses her.
Ooh.
But they get interrupted by Corinne, who offers them popcorn. Awkward.
At work the next day, the girls finally are getting the hang of things and are doing a good job. Fran invites them to a party to celebrate the dairy being saved, and they go to the party with Philippe and Jackson, and the dairy jam band is playing. And since Courtney is here instead of being at her cotillion, the band starts to give her her own spotlight dance. But then a delivery worker from the factory runs in and says there's an emergency.
All of the products that he was delivering are expired, and they realize it's because they were all stamped wrong. And with code regulations, they can't do anything but start a whole new batch of yogurts from scratch. Courtney realizes that it was her mistake and that she's the one who stamped the wrong expiration date on all of the yogurts. Taylor suggests that they start the run tonight. Jackson's dad says he'll supply more milk, but they'll need more workers in order to pull this whole thing off. Courtney and Taylor crash the cotillion, and Courtney takes the mic, and she gives this very Disney speech telling everyone that a ton of people will lose their jobs if they don't step up. And she talks about how good it feels to help other people in the community and how she's learned this. She's like, I was like all of you, but now I'm changed. She and the head mean girl, Sarah, fight over the mic, and Sarah falls into the pool.
So the girls go back to the dairy without any volunteers. But just as they start shutting the dairy down, because they don't have enough people to do the work, the girl's dad shows up, and he comes with a ton of people from the cotillion who are ready to help out, including the 2 mean girls that aren't Sarah.
I like that he showed up at the cotillion, like, where are my girls? And then they aren't there. And then he's like, okay, well, all of you come with me to save the dairy.
Yeah.
And he's just like so respected that they're like, okay.
Yeah, everybody loves him.
Everyone works hard and they manage to pull through the evening, getting the production done. The employees and volunteers all celebrate. Reed gives a speech that he'll figure out the damage Bob did and that everyone's jobs are safe. He thanks the girls for coming through for the dairy. Then he has the jam band play so Courtney and Philippe can have their spotlight dance in the parking lot. Taylor and Jackson dance too.
The next day, after checking his finances, Reed says that the dairy will survive, but that money will be tight for some time. He turns off the girls' alarms so he can give them the day off, but they're already in his car waiting to go to work. And they make a comment about how they want to go to work so that they won't have the opportunity to feel like they need to go to the mall. And that's the end.
Cute.
The changed girls.
In an alternate ending, Courtney finally uses her computer skills to track down Bob, and the girls show their father live footage of him enjoying cocktails with a woman at some hotel, and they show it to Reed so that he can turn it into the FBI. And then they go to work with him.
Oh, that's funny. I like that one.
I do too. You can find it on YouTube if you're curious. And I actually don't know why they didn't pick that one. Because I feel like it wraps everything up nicely where then you know what happens to the bad guy too.
Agreed. But this one is shorter and cuter, which is nice.
Yeah, I guess that's what they intended. I feel like there are some things that didn't make sense with this movie and that like maybe weren't the right way to talk about capitalism.
Definitely.
But I still thought it was really enjoyable and fun, and it made a lot of sense for a kid, you know?
Definitely, yeah.
They kept it simple.
Very simple. I still thought it was cute, and I just love seeing Aly and AJ, so that was fun.
Me too. I actually really want to watch their other movies too, so maybe we should do that.
I would love to.
Well, thank you so much for listening.
And we'll talk to you next week. Bye.